Okay, great. And just a reminder to the participants on the call who are not part of the committee, please remain muted. I'm not going to just mute everybody. I'm just going to ask that you please all stay muted. This is a committee call for the council members who are on the committee, and we will be having discussions. You are free to observe, but again, we ask that you do not unmute yourselves during the call. Okay, so it is good to see you, Council Vice President. I hope you had a good day. I hope everyone else on the call had a good day. And again, we're just going to go ahead and get started. I want to recap from our last meeting some of the action items that we had and what has happened since then. So at our last committee meeting, we discussed the need to bring the topic of the city governance structure to the full council to make a decision on how we would proceed, as that is going to inform how we make the changes to the charter. And we got consensus from the council that the direction is to move to a more pure form of council manager form of government, where there will be 7 council members and the mayor and Mayor Pro Temp will be selected from amongst the 7 council members. And the city manager will continue to be the chief administrative officer as defined in the charter. And the mayor will continue to have the presiding authority over the council. So that means whoever is selected as mayor will be the chairman or chairwoman of the council meeting. She or he will be the face for the city of Glenarden. So all of the type of executive type of activities that would be expected of a mayor would be still managed by that mayor. The mayor pro temp would be basically an assistant mayor or a vice mayor in the event that the mayor is not available. The mayor pro temp would operate in that capacity in his or her absence. So that was the major decision that we needed to make in order to move forward with review of the charter. In addition to that discussion point, we did make some revisions to the resolution itself, the resolution that governs the process for the Charter Review Committee. Instead of passing charter resolutions as we go, which was originally proposed, we will instead be waiting until the end of the charter review process to make the charter resolutions that are reflective of the changes that we have discussed throughout. In the event that we are not able to come to any consensus as a committee, we will bring it to the full council for direction. Where there is not a disagreement amongst the council members, the committee members, but still something that is informative for the rest of the council, we will bring that forward as well. So at the end of this process, the objective is to have all of the proposed amendments outlined so that anyone can review them from A to Z, have a clear understanding of all the changes that are being made. And then we will go ahead and make those charter resolution changes. So with that said, we can go on now and actually begin the review. I have the charter, let me share it, so we can start to go through that. For the citizens on the call, one thing to note is that there are several several charter resolutions that are not yet reflected in, this charter that we're reviewing now, particularly some charter resolutions that were passed in fiscal year 22. So at this point, they should have definitely been reflected. That is being addressed with Annapolis, the people responsible at the state level for updating municipality charters with the resolutions and the ordinances that are passed. So where we know there is more recent guidance for charter resolutions that have already been ratified, then we will point those out. But for now, Council Vice President, can you see my screen? I just want to make sure. You can see it, right? Can you see it? I can't hear you, Council Vice President. You need me to increase my volume? My volume is up to 100. I don't know that I can get it up any higher. I can't hear you though, Council Vice. Can you hear me, Council Vice President? You're on mute. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. You seem far away. Can you hear me clear?
I can hear you.
Oh, maybe it's mine. I don't know if anyone else is having a problem.
My volume is all the way up. I'm not sure. Let me check.
Okay.
Let me check my Zoom settings. I don't know, maybe. Is this any better? Is this any better?
It's the same. Go ahead. I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So we basically stopped before we really got started. So I'm bringing up where on Article 3, the organization of the council, this is where we stopped our last review so that we could address the issue of how we wanted to move forward. And I have this document open in Adobe so that we can make edits as we go along. I figured that would be a more efficient way for us to capture the changes and then be able to share them out. So we'll just go and for citizens on the call, this is probably going to be boring for you, but we're trying to be as meticulous as possible in going through every word, every detail in the charter and making revisions, proposed revisions as we go. So section 301, composition, terms of office, the number, selection, and length of term. All legislative powers of the city are vested in a council consisting of 7 council members who shall be elected as hereinafter provided and who shall hold office for a term of 2 years or until their successors take office, except that beginning with the election in May 2013, the term of office for all council members shall be 4 years or until their successors take office. So Council Vice President, my recommendation here is to simplify this language and to take out this piece where it talks about the term for 2 years and then what's going to happen in May 2013. I mean, that's 10 years ago already. I think we can update it to say that all legislative powers of the city are vested in a council consisting of 7 council members who shall be elected as hereinafter provided and who shall hold office for a term of 4 years or until their successors take office.
Okay. Yeah. Because it's been 4 years for a while now.
Yeah. Unless you want to go back to 2 years. All right. Okay. So the next is beginning and end of term. The regular term of council members shall begin 1 hour after the start of the regular council meeting on the second Monday in June, following their election, and shall expire upon the seating of their successors. Council members holding office at the time this charter becomes effective shall continue to hold office for the term for which they were elected or until their successors take office under the provisions of this charter. So my recommendation here is that we change this to a capital R, so that is referencing the specific meeting, because the meeting that we have, and it's actually not even the second Monday anymore, but that second Monday meeting is the regular meeting as opposed to the work session or the public hearing. So I think we should make this very specific and say that the regular term of council members shall begin 1 hour after the start of the regular council meeting on the, what is it now?
Third.
The third Monday in June.
Erica, were we still planning on, I know it was going back and forth about the public meeting being the second week. Because prior to the public meeting being implemented and voted on into it was it was the first and the second Mondays that we had meetings. So
well, so that's why I'm suggesting that here we call it the regular meeting in case it's a change, right? So as I'm thinking out loud, I think we should just say the regular term of council members shall begin 1 hour after the start of the regular council meeting, and then just end it, because we can change when the regular meeting is. So we don't want to have to change the charter if the date of the regular meeting is changed. Right, like right now, if it was, this is not correct to say on the second Monday in June, because our regular meetings are actually on the third Monday. We don't have a meeting on the second Monday in, of any month anymore. So I think if we just strike this one, just say the regular term of council members shall begin 1 hour after the start of the regular council meeting in June.
In June, right.
Their election, and shall expire upon the seating of their successors. Council members holding office at the time this charter becomes effective shall continue to hold office for the term for which they were elected or until their successors take office under the provisions of this charter.
Okay.
And right. All right. Now the qualifications of council members. Council members shall be at least 21 years of age, shall have resided in the city for at least 1 year immediately preceding their election, and shall be qualified voters of the city pursuant to section 702 of this charter. So I want to ask a question here, because now that the mayor will be selected from one of the 7 council members, should we change anything here? Like, I believe currently for mayor, it's that they need to be there 2 years. So should we have it that council members shall be at least 21 years of age and shall have resided in the city for at least 2 years immediately preceding their election?
What was the last thing you said?
Should we change it so that the requirement for residency is 2 years instead of 1 year? Because all of the council members will be eligible to become mayor of the city. And if we currently have a requirement that the mayor term is 2 years, then, do you think that there would be an issue if a council member who's only been in the city for 1 year was selected to be mayor? I'm just gonna pull it on my paper version, so I don't have to. I think we should change it to 2 years. Um,
2 years, just for council, just overall.
so that every council member will have had to have residency for 2 years preceding the election. I can't find my paper version fast enough. I'm just trying to scroll down to quickly to where it talks about the mayor's requirements. I'm pretty sure it's longer than a council member. Oh, no, it's 1 year for mayor as well. I was wrong. Okay, so we can keep it at 1 year. Okay. Okay. Any person who has claimed the principal residence outside of the corporate limits of the city of Glenarden in filings with the state of Maryland, including as part of an application for the homestead tax credit, is not a resident for purposes of this section for the time period claimed. So one thing I want to do, I'm just going to highlight wherever we have a reference to a section, because as we make changes, we need to make sure that the references are still tying back to the right place. So on the ballot in Maryland, there was something around residents. I'm trying to pull it up. It's hard when I'm trying to do on my phone. I'm going to pull it up. The ballot measures, because I'm thinking we should be consistent with the residency requirements that are at the county and the state level for elected officials. Because I think one of the issues, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what I've heard as issues in the past is that there are people who actually don't live in Glenarden who have been running for Glenarden roles, and I think it's a little challenging because of the fact that on any or on certain streets, part of the street is Glenarden, part of the street is some other town. Like my backyard, if I go over my fence, I'm in Bowie. So do we need to have something more specific to ensure that those people actually only live in Glenarden? I don't know.
Well, I don't know how specific you can be, except for say you live in Glenarden. I mean, we did have one council member that she lived on Barcroft, I think. Oh, anyway, so her next door neighbor was in Springdale.
Right,
She just made Glenarden. But there are, I mean, we can be more specific in that there are some people that do have homes in Glenarden, but they may not live in Glenarden. So something that may specify they should live in that particular residence 60% of the time, or a high percentage of the time, because some people have homes in Glenarden, but they don't live in Glenarden. That was one particular thing that came up with one of the council members some years ago, that they moved in another house that was in Springdale instead of Glenarden, but they didn't live in the Glenarden home. So, I mean, it may be, because some people have property here and they have a stake here. So you probably have to put a high percentage, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, be living in the home in the city, at least 60% or 75% or whatever we want to say. We can.
Let's go with a high number, and then we'll see what the rest of the council has to say, and then I'll give time to do the research.
Yeah. Just bring it, get a consensus, or have that a discussion. But
yeah, And that'll give us time to look up I couldn't look it up fast enough, the ballot
Mhm.
measures. that
Because
were
I know a
that we
particular
voted
person
on.
that actually ran, for a seat. And they have a home in Glenarden, but they live in Bowie 100% of the time, but their house is their house. And so there was nothing in the charter to really address that like
Okay,
it should have been.
okay. So now moving on to salary of the council members. Each council member shall receive an annual salary shall be equal for all council members and shall be as specified from time to time by an ordinance passed by the council in the regular course of its business, provided, however, that the salary specified at the time any council member takes office shall not be changed during the term for which that council member was elected. So basically, it's something is voted on, but you can't vote for your own salary increase
Hmm?
in that term. So I'm thinking that here, because again, one of these council members is going to be the mayor, and they're going to have more responsibility than the other council members. That it should whoever is elected as the mayor should receive a higher salary, just like it is now.
I would want to research that.
Okay. Okay. What do we want to research about it?
To see, I mean, what is being that the mayor is chosen out of the council, I don't know what other municipalities or what the rule is on that. I know we can ultimately do what we want, but I just would want to know what is the norm for that.
Okay, so let's look research other practices. Yeah, my thinking is just, I mean, they are going to be the mayor. They are going to be expected to be more visible, do more things. So I just think they should get paid more, just like the mayor gets paid more than the council members now. Okay, but we can check that out. Okay. Do you want to take the lead on that?
On the research on it?
Yeah.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay. Okay, the ordinance making any change in the salary paid to the several council members, either by way of increase or decrease, shall be finally ordained prior to the election of the members to whom the salary increase shall apply. Meetings. The newly elected council shall meet on the second Monday in June following its election for the purpose of organization, after which the council shall meet regularly at such times as may be prescribed by its rules, but not less frequently than once each month, except, however, that during the month of July and August, the regularly scheduled meetings may be canceled by a majority of the members of the council. So I think there's a couple of things here. It says the newly elected council shall meet, and it specifies the date. I think we should just say
The regular meeting?
Yeah, the newly elected council shall meet during the regular meeting following its election for the purpose of organization. Regular meeting and following its election to purpose of organization, after which the council shall meet regularly at such times as may be prescribed by its rules, but not less frequently than once each month, except, however, that during the months of July and August, the regularly scheduled meetings may be canceled by a majority of the members of the council. So on my reading of this, it seems that the only time that we can cancel regularly scheduled meetings is in July and August. And currently, the regularly scheduled meetings are the regular meeting, sorry, the work session, the public hearing, and the regular meeting. But our practice, like for example, in December, I believe we canceled some meetings, right? Like we didn't have all of them.
You know, that was the first time I'd ever seen any type of recess in December in the first place. I don't know where that came about, but because normally the recesses are always just July and August. But I
So
don't read it to say that the meetings that's the only time we can cancel the meeting. And even in July and August, once we do a resolution to do to go into recess, that is for the regular. We still, if need be, can meet if we have something urgent. So it's, you know, and that's another thing that needs to be clarified. Because some thought that once we was on recess, then we was on recess. We wasn't supposed to meet. But there, you know, there might be cases where we have emergency meetings or budget, you know, trying to pass that or do whatever. But are
so I
you
think
saying
that's
that
what
you
we,
would prefer it to read that no regular meetings can be canceled?
well, I think that's what I'm trying to get clarity on here, because I think we have different interpretations, and I think it's because this is not entirely clear. So, because it says after which the council shall meet regularly at such times as may be prescribed by its rules. Currently, our rules prescribe us to have a work session, a public hearing, and a regular meeting. That's that's what it's saying right here. The council shall meet, so we must meet at such times as may be prescribed by its rules. So based on that, we are supposed to have those 3 meetings right now because our rules have those 3 meetings. If our rules didn't have, like, let's say our rules, well, our rules would never have no meetings, but if our rules were somehow in conflict, it can't be less frequently than once each month. So we could not ever say that we're not going to meet. Every month we have to have at least 1 meeting. Per our rules, we actually have 3. And then this part, however, that during the months of July and August, the regularly scheduled meetings, so those 3 meetings we have, the work session, the public hearing, and the regular meeting, may be canceled by a majority of the members of the council. So when we pass that resolution to go into recess in July and August, all 3 of those meetings should be canceled.
No, it says may. It don't have to be. I mean, yeah,
Right.
they are. Yeah, no, yes, that's right. You're right. They are canceled, but that doesn't mean that we will not meet if something come up like an emergency comes up that we need to have an emergency meeting. But you are correct. Those regular meetings, we don't have those meetings in July and August.
Right.
We
So
only have we may have, like, again, say for instance, if we can't get the budget passed on time, we might say we're gonna have a special a budget meeting within that month, trying to get that budget passed. So it could be anything. But you're
right.
right. You're right on that.
Yeah, and then so this last piece addresses that, right? The special meeting shall be called by the clerk to the council upon the request of the mayor. And we can take this out because the president of the council and the mayor is the same thing. Or a majority of the members of the council. So if we had the situation like you're talking about, this allows for us to do that. Yeah. Okay. So the newly elected council shall meet we're going to take this part. The newly elected council shall meet at the regular meeting in June following its election for the purpose of organization, after which the council shall meet regularly at such times as may be prescribed by its rules, but not less frequently than once each month, except, however, that during the months of July and August, the regularly scheduled meetings may be canceled by a majority of the members of the council. The other question we need to ask is, do we want to have a winter recess? Because if so, we need to put that here.
I don't know why I can't hear you. You said, do we want to have what?
A winter recess, because you're right. I've never seen it where we recessed in December, but we did that this time. So we need to figure out, like, I mean, it seems reasonable to me to have a recess for the summer and then have a recess for the holidays. So I think we can ask that,
Mm-hmm.
because then we can say, however, that during the months of July, August, and December, the regularly scheduled meetings may be canceled by a majority of the members of the council. We still have to vote on it.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we're going to take this out, or a majority of the members of the council. Okay. Closed sessions. The council may meet in closed session, or adjourn an open session, Okay. The council may meet in closed session or adjourn an open session to a closed session only to, and let's just, I think here, we just need to make sure that this aligns with the current language. Because we have it like in our agendas.
That it aligns with.
With the current language on when you can close a meeting.
Oh, yeah. And open meeting act as well.
Yeah. Meeting. So this is about closed session, when you can go in closed session. So we'll just make sure all of that is aligned to the public, to the Open Meetings Act, as well as the procedures for closing the session. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so now we get to president and vice president, which will now be mayor and mayor pro tem. Okay, so again, this will say mayor at its organizational meeting, at the regular meeting in June.
Now, this right here is saying something different than what we actually do.
Exactly, and I think we need to reconcile.
And
this,
so we
right?
need to decide, because I haven't seen anything written, a resolution or anything. I don't know whether it was this something decided upon and they just did it, and or whether it wound up being in a council rules that, and it didn't make it to a new edition. But this clearly says something totally different than what we do. Because I read it to say, I think like every June we elect the president or a vice president, which of course it would be different, being that we are considered the government. But this, it says following an election, and we only have one election within the term. So if that's the case, to me, it would read that whoever is elected would be in that position, preside that whole 4 years. I don't have a problem doing it well, we're going to change it anyway. So, but if we were going to do it like that, it should be written that way, that every June, a new,
but what we decided when we're saying the president is now the mayor, we're not going
Right.
to vote on a mayor every year. So I think as it is written right now is accurate.
and yeah, okay, right.
Yeah. However, one of the areas that I see as a conflict is the way we're doing this, right? When we have our organizational meeting and we choose who we're going to choose, we bring forth a resolution and we vote on it in that regular meeting. But that's, according to our charter, we cannot bring forth a resolution and vote on it at the same time, like on the same day. So the fact that we do that, in my opinion, is not in accordance with the process for a resolution.
Well, if that is the case, then I think, because the way this is, the way it was, is currently done, once, we were in the meeting, we decided, then it would be voted on in that same meeting. So that means that, I think that would affect, wouldn't that affect something we just went over
Well,
above
that's what
that?
I'm saying. According to our rules, we cannot do that. We cannot bring a resolution and vote on it in the same meeting.
Okay, so it wouldn't, so, I think all the way back when they first started talking about, the person would be in that, position until, I guess someone was voted in, so,
Mhm. Well, I'm just calling out the fact that what we do currently is not aligned to what's in our charter. However, let me give you my perspective on this. I believe that the resolutions or the process by which we present resolutions and vote on them is unnecessarily cumbersome. I think that many municipalities manage their resolution process in a much more simplified, straight line way that allows them to get more done than what we're able to get done in a more timely fashion. So I am not opposed to the idea of bringing forth resolutions to be voted on at the same time. I do understand, though, that there has been historically a concern with resolutions being brought forward that are consequential, that have not allowed the citizens an opportunity to review and discuss. I think the way that we can address this is
Okay.
that we have to be able to separate out actions that are ones for public consideration and actions that are more administrative. I think, as an example, like when it always, boggled my mind before I was a council member and even now, how we do the garbage contract. There's no way we're not going to stop that we would stop the garbage. So having this process where we have to bring it to a work session, have public comment on it, vote on it, to me is an unnecessary and a holdup for something that is administrative and is like a necessary service of the city. So I think there are certain things that are administrative that we could vote on that wouldn't even require the preparation of a formal resolution. And then those that are actually true legislation, right? Like a charter amendment or an ordinance, these things that are true pieces of legislation that require the deliberative process of, preparing it, presenting it, having the public have an opportunity to speak on it and move forward. So with that said, I think that what we need to make a decision on is this type of activity administrative in nature, or is this something that citizens should have an opportunity to weigh in on? Whether we continue with our current structure where we had a president of the council, or the new structure where the presiding officer of the council is the mayor, the question I'm ultimately asking is, should the citizens have an opportunity to provide their opinion on who has been identified to be president or mayor of the council.
I think that's something that we should bring to the council.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just reference the section that we're talking about. Okay. Okay, so the mayor of the council shall preside over all meetings of the council and shall perform other duties as specified by the council by resolution. So that's a big change, right? Because the mayor right now is expected to attend the council meeting, but is not a full participant. In this case, the mayor would preside over the actual council meeting. And so I think the changes that we make for this section would be applicable to here, which is going to be vice or what is it, mayor pro tem. Okay. Did you have anything on there before we move to the next section? We're doing good. Trying to do this. Okay. Quorum. A majority of the members of the council shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of business, but no ordinance shall be approved nor any other action taken without the favorable votes of at least 4 members of the council. So I think this is a bit confusing because it says no ordinance shall be approved nor any other action taken without the favorable votes of at least 4 members of the council, but an ordinance actually needs 5 members. It actually needs at least 5.
Mm.
And I think what this is indicative of is that it could probably be called more generically legislation, right? That transaction business, but no legislation shall be approved, nor any other action taken without the favorable votes of at least 4 members of the council. And I feel like we have to make the distinction again, as I was saying before, between like what's true legislation and what is not. Because an ordinance with a capital O would require 5, not 4. So I'm just going to put that as a question, like, what do we want to put here? So do we mean this to say no resolution shall be approved? Okay. We'll have to ask what that is. Rules and order of business. Journal, votes in public meeting, roll call votes, minutes. Procedure of council. The council shall determine its own rules and order of business. It shall keep a journal of its proceedings and enter therein yeas and nays upon final action on any question, resolution, or ordinance, or at any other time if required by any one member. One moment, let me just go back to here. The council shall determine its own rules and order of business. I think we need to put something here about sort of the order, right? That there's state rules or there's federal rules and the state rules, then the council rules, then Robert's rules of order. Because I think this would seem to indicate that the council can make rules that supersede state or federal law, and that's not true. So I just, it shall keep a journal of its proceedings and enter therein yeas and nays upon final action on any question, resolution, or ordinance, or at any other time if required by any one member. Now, this came up the other night in the public hearing where a council member requested that we record the yeas and nays for accepting the agenda as opposed to accepting the agenda by, I think it's called affirmation is the right term. And some council members felt that we should be allowed as a council to override that decision, because up here it says, nor any other action taken without the favorable votes of at least 4 members of the council. So basically, if this is true, right, that no other action can be taken without the favorable votes of at least 4 members of the council, but it's saying here that 1 member can require something, then it would seem that 4 members could say, no, we're not going to do that, even if requested by the 1 council member. So I think we just need to get some clarity, some legal clarity on, are these 2 in conflict with one another? Because where it says nor any other action, that doesn't say, there's no except. There's no exception up here that says nor any other action taken without favorable votes of at least 4 members of the council, except for when any one member wants to have the yeas and nays entered.
But this is specifically talking about ordinances, right?
Mm-mm. No, this is for
All votes of the council on ordinances shall be taken by roll call. Okay, yeah, okay. Lowercase, okay. So, I mean, yeah, we can address that as well.
yeah. Because I was one of the council members who felt that this section up here meant that we would have to agree with that 1 council member before we did what the 1 council member wanted to do.
So basically you're saying it's almost like if the 1 council member make a request, then we need to do a consensus.
Right.
To see whether we agree. I mean, it's not that the person can't make the request. Nor is it, I mean, because right now it's I guess, the way it was stated is if they made the request, then we just had to go with it. We had no options.
Exactly,
That's what you're saying? Yeah, okay.
right. Um, the journal shall be open. The journal shall be open to public inspection. Now, I've never seen the journal. What is the journal? Is it just the meeting minutes, or is it like a physical document that is called the journal? Like, have
I cannot answer that. Attorney probably can, but I mean, is that word that I don't know whether it's a word that should be used or just a word of preference, or I've never,
right.
outside of it being in the charter, I've never heard it spoken of.
Well,
Just in
right.
general, yeah.
Okay. No action requiring a vote of the council shall be taken except in public meetings. All votes of the council on ordinances shall be taken by roll call. All other votes of the council shall be by roll call only at the request of the council member. So I think what we need to get clarified here is what is the difference between a consensus and a vote? Because we take consensus in closed meetings. We take, even in a public meeting when we take a consensus, I am not entirely clear on what's the difference in effect of when we take a consensus versus when we vote. And I think that's a very valid question. A citizen asked that several months ago in a meeting when we were in a work session and we took a consensus. I think it's a very valid question. Like, is that a vote or not? And why isn't it a vote?
Well, it's like, I was just kind of looking at the definition. You agree to adopt or, a draft or a situation without a vote, but you still can have reservations and you still could change it. A vote is a vote, but consensus is just like you're just getting a general idea. But I know what you're saying, that in some cases, consensus was done and it was looked at as law, So just a matter of knowing what it means, but just getting a general idea of, who, just like as the availability of to schedule a meeting. It's not really a vote. It's get a consensus of, do we have at least a majority? It's not necessarily having a majority. Do we have a majority? It's not necessarily having all, but if we at least have the basic amount, then we can go forth in certain things. But it's definitely not a vote, because we can't. Yeah, in certain meetings you could take a consensus, but you can't vote in certain meetings. but we can mark
Yeah.
that as, needing more clarity.
Right, right. So that's definitely something we need the attorney's guidance on, and to understand which actions do require a vote.
Yeah.
Because there's no action requiring a vote, but I haven't seen anywhere where it says a vote is required. Okay. Copy of minutes. A duplicate copy of the minutes of all regular and special meetings of the council shall be posted in bound cumulative form within 30 days in the administrative office and shall be open to public inspection during regular working hours. I think that this has changed. I am not sure, but let's check, because I think the change is that it does not have to be a physical copy.
You mean change? You mean change in terms of the Open Meetings Act, or?
I believe there was something around electronic documents because, having a bunch of paper is just not.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. 'Cause
friendly.
right now, that's the process that's going forward. So we're gonna check on that as well.
Yeah. The paper. Format is so hard.
I know they're uploaded on the website, accessible electronically.
Copy for council members. Each council member shall be given a complete copy of the minutes of each meeting of the council, regular and special, that occurs while he or she is a member of the council. I don't know, why would that be in there? I don't know. It just seems like something that's not important to be in the charter.
What you saying?
It seems like something that's not important to have in the charter. I don't know why it's there.
What, do they have copies?
Yeah, for each council member.
I mean, of course, you have to take in consideration when this was written too. A lot of electronic. I mean, a lot of the stuff need to be updated. So, guess we can do a consensus on that, but like you said, a lot of paper and stuff. A lot of stuff is not.
Yeah, because to me, what's more relevant is that I'm given a complete copy of the meeting package, right? Like whether it's electronic or paper, right? Like I need the agenda. I want to have all the attachments. And
well, I think, as far as the minutes, I'm thinking, let's see, of the minutes of each meeting of the council regular. I would look at that thinking that the minutes, would have transpired in every meeting thereafter, but we have access to that.
right. I guess I'm just suggesting that in addition to minutes, it should also be like the agenda and any other document. Like I don't know why it's just calling out minutes here. I'll just put it in the question.
But I do know that the minutes, the paper minutes, I mean, I think it's a law. They have to be kept somewhere. How about 6 years, I think. So we can check on these B and C, C. Let's see whether the electronic override, takes the place of the hard copies. But I don't think so.
And then procedure for enactment of resolutions and ordinances. Resolution shall mean a formal expression of opinion, will, or intent of the council adopted by a vote of the council, and unless otherwise required by law, is without the force of an ordinance. So I think that where we have an opportunity to be more clear, and this is kind of alluding to what I was speaking about earlier, is that this language to me doesn't require a prepared resolution. In other words, the resolutions that we prepare, the R dash whatever dash 22, that those are not necessary to evidence the resolution. And many other municipalities, they just express their opinion, or whoever's bringing forth the resolution, they express it as a motion and then it's voted on. So
are you saying it's not written anywhere?
Right. So it would be recorded certainly through the
Mhm.
minutes. But when you present the motion, you are saying, I move that we do X, Y, and Z. So I think that this is the piece here where it's really, what is the difference between a resolution and an ordinance? Because what we bring forth as resolutions, where here it says it's a formal expression of opinion, will, or intent of the council, versus an ordinance shall mean a legislative enactment adopted in a manner prescribed by this section, which shall have the full force of law. I don't know where everything falls in. So a resolution so if we wanted to use the ARPA funds and we wanted to establish a program for the use of the ARPA funds, is that equivalent to an ordinance which has the full force of the law? Or is that really a resolution which just a formal expression of opinion? Like what is
I
that?
think we would have to do a resolution. And then too, some resolutions are necessary depending on dollar amount. I mean, according to our charter, I mean, anything over $66,000. I mean, for instance. So,
Well, I guess that's what I'm getting at. Like, is that efficient though? Like, and do we need to define what types of things should be resolutions and what types of things should be ordinances? I would think, based upon a description here, that bringing forth something to say we're going to establish a grant program for those in need and using ARPA funds, I would think that would be an ordinance, not a resolution.
say that again. The ordinance.
That would be an ordinance where we're going to say we're going to spend $200,000 to set aside money for citizens who are in need, and we're going to use ARPA funds. To me, that should be an ordinance. Where a resolution would be, we are going to move forward with using Good Trash Company. And in the case of Good Trash, we could just say, I move that we ratify an agreement with Good Company to extend their contract for the next year, and then we vote on it and it's something that's done. Where an ordinance, in my opinion, is something that is, has the full force of law. It is a legislative enactment. It is something that warrants feedback from the public on. I feel like we're mixing things now. And I feel like a lot of the resolutions that we put forward don't have enough weight to require the process that we go through for them. Like approving something that's over $6,000, even if it's already in the budget.
Yeah.
We pass the budget by ordinance. And then we're specific in the budget, right? We say this line item is for these things. So if they're getting those things, I don't see it. To me, it does not make sense that we have to put forward a whole resolution and take it through the whole work session, public hearing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. The only thing is, even in that, there should be some kind of written requirement, such as, like, for instance, I agree, like, okay, so you have a budget, we approve 2 vehicles, and so it's approved. So they may not, I mean, we may approve it in July, and they may not get the vehicles until 8 months from there. So, but because it's in the budget, they still need to do some kind of paperwork, some documentation that we purchased 2 cars, VIN numbers, this person, this, that. Now the all the documentation, we still need to know. It's a process that needs to be followed, whether it's a standard operating procedure or not. Just go buy the cars, and then later we find out that you bought the cars or bought a big, 2 $8,000 lawnmowers and things like that. In other words, don't just spend the money and we don't know that it was spent. There needs to be a procedure that you follow, not necessarily that we have to vote on it, because once we voted on it in the budget, it became law, whatever you want to call it. But they just to go and spend the money and not, if we just see a car or lawnmower, that's something different. You need to still at least do some kind of letter or something saying, or documentation saying we spent, bought 2 cars that was approved in the 2024 budget. VIN number, put the VIN numbers, a little bit about it, and then the purchase order, the PO, and everything else, and that would be enough documentation that probably could pass, or be to qualify for audits and just record keeping. But I
Well,
do
certainly.
agree. Huh?
Certainly, that would be required whether we voted on it or not. And I think
Yeah, so
that's
I'm just saying that would be enough for me. I mean, yes, I said, because once you, I do agree that, a lot of times there's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of voting and, meeting when we've already said, okay, yes, we're gonna do this, or yes, you're gonna, we're gonna add $10,000, in a particular budget, for the Veterans
Right.
Memorial to get, or whatever. So we shouldn't have to then do, a resolution saying that we're gonna spend $8,000, $20 for 100 placards or whatever. We just, it should be another way without having to go through the process of voting. 3 meetings, in other words.
Well, right,
So
right.
that's something that in this, so I guess we can put a note to bring it for discussion. Because even some of the citizens say we have too many meetings.
Well, it's a lot, and it's to be honest, as a part-time council member, because these roles are part-time, I feel like our time could be used more effectively and to the benefit of the city if we stop focusing on administrative matters that we've already given an opinion on, right? When we go through the budget, that is where our role is. But to try and manage the administration of everything, again, we are legislators, not administrators. So I will always go back to that point, and we'll try to just keep our efforts focused on true legislation so that we can have impact for the citizens. Because I don't know that we have any place where it says if you're trying to do this type of thing, this needs to be an ordinance, or if you're trying to do this type of thing, it needs to be a resolution. It seems kind of arbitrary on which ones are resolutions and which ones are ordinances. Okay, so this is what we need to find out. And a resolution may be introduced by any council member at any regular or special meeting. So what's happening in reality is that we're only allowing resolutions to be introduced at the work session. Meaning, and I think what we need to define is what does introduce mean? I think a lay person would read this and say a resolution may be introduced, meaning the first time that we see a resolution, it says here, a resolution may be introduced by any council member at any regular or special meeting of the council. So I would interpret that if I were a lay person as I can bring a resolution, I can introduce a resolution. The first time that anyone sees a resolution could be at a regular meeting or a special meeting. But what we're actually doing is we're saying it has to go to the work session first.
Yeah, that's what it's.
Personally, I think that we're trying to overprescribe it because the resolution, it can be introduced, but there's another section that says it can't be voted on at the same time that it was introduced. So to me, like, you could bring forward a resolution at the regular meeting and then vote on it at the next regular meeting. but it shouldn't have to be that you have to bring it to the work session. I think what we're trying to do is create a process in which a resolution is brought forward. The council has an opportunity to review and discuss it, and then the citizens have an opportunity to review and discuss it, which would be the public hearing, and then the council votes on it. And I think that deliberative process makes sense for some type of resolution, not all of them. Again, I'll use the example of the good contract. Like, were we really not going to have garbage pickup in the city of Glenarden? So to me, to take that through the whole process that we did, and it took a really long time. It wasn't even just 3 meetings for that good contract. Can you hear me, Council Vice President? Or are you just
Not too good. You kind of went in and out, but basically, I mean, I understand what you're saying about all of this. I think we should not just have a discussion with the council, but I mean, see what the with the Robert rules and even with the attorney, with how she feels about that.
Yeah, so I can tell you, because Attorney Ruff was the one who pointed it out to me, that what we're doing is not aligned to what most other municipalities are doing. That we have far too many meetings, and that the way that we do our resolutions are unnecessary.
And that's good. I mean, fine. I mean, I just, whatever way is the best way, because again, we do know that this charter is way has not been reviewed. In its entirety, I would say 20 years, I guess. But so a lot of things are not even reflected as as it pertains to law and changes. So this particular section, I would say, just make a notation that we just need to come back and to it and redefine it if we have to, and get the council of both, Robert Rules, the Open Meetings Act, and or the attorney.
Yeah, and I think what we're looking for is like what's best practice to be able to expedite the right type of activities, right? I'm not suggesting that anything that is consequential to the citizens of the city that we rush through, but not everything is of the same level of importance that it
Right.
responds to.
Okay.
So okay, we'll just take a look at that and bring some best practices to light to the rest of the council and see what the consensus is there. So I think we've gotten through a whole article or two. It is 7:44. It's not a deal with us. I mean, so let's just keep pushing. But we got through 3, and now we're on to 7. Okay, Article 4, the mayor, election term of office, election term. So this is, we're gonna replace this with the language it talks about for the president, which we've already done. There's no conflict in terms of the term or the qualifications. Term is still the same. So this was a salary.
I mean, did you? We supposed to go up there? I mean, did it say 2 years?
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing. The same thing where we're changing it from 2 years to.
No. I mean, let me see. Oh, it wasn't saying the, I thought that was, when I saw 2 years, I thought it was, no, the term had to be changed to 4 years.
Right. And that's
Oh.
what, we already did that. Up in the above section, there's not a separate.
Oh,
section.
yeah. Okay.
So I think the thing is the salary, that's the question we wanted to know. Should the mayor continue to receive a different salary than the rest of the council members? I think so. But that's something we said we would take to the council. We already have that noted. So in the powers and duties, generally, this is where we need to define what it's going to be, because the way that the council manager form of government works, where the mayor is a part of the council, the mayor still retains many of these same authorities. So we need to figure out, as an example, some municipalities have it where the mayor presides over the meeting, but the mayor does not have a vote on regular transactions, except in the case of a tie, or but so that the mayor can retain the power of veto. So that's, I think, what something that we have to figure out, because if the mayor has the ability to vote on every resolution and ordinance and also the power to veto it, obviously that is a conflict. So we have to figure out how the voting rights of the mayor will be managed. My personal opinion is that it is more powerful for the mayor to be able to vote on the resolutions or the ordinances up front, rather than having the veto power, because the veto is overridden. I mean, I don't know of any instances in which something has been vetoed and it hasn't been overridden. So it would be more effectual for the mayor to be able to vote on whatever's on the table, and then the vote of the 7 is what stands, and if there is no veto.
So with that, would you say, you wanted to get the consensus of the council, confer with the attorney, and or also seek other municipalities to see?
Yeah,
Because there are a lot of municipalities that do this form of government.
yeah, but
So
they're all different in how they execute it, right? Like I said, some don't allow the mayor to vote unless it's a tie. Some allow the mayor to vote. I don't know how they would handle the veto, but I would imagine that if the mayor,
I wouldn't imagine they would have to, but like I said, I mean, yeah, because some of them that I talked to, said that they had, could vote. They had the voting powers, just like the council.
right?
So, not just only on a veto, but
Right.
voting power and veto. They can't have both. So,
Right. Do you have a way that you think would work best? Do you have a recommendation that you think would work best? Like, how you feel about allowing the mayor to vote on all actions?
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I'm just saying, then that would, I'm assuming, then that would, be no need for no, I mean, who would veto? I mean, they can't vote and veto.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
the mayor is now part, he or she, would be, part of the council. They should have a voting power.
I agree.
But again, we need to, and also factually, would all of this still apply under
I don't think
404?
so.
So that's where, I wish we had the attorney, but we can also confer with her on that.
Right. Like I think here where it talks about the mayor shall see that the ordinance of the city are faithfully executed and shall be the chief executive officer of the city government. It's the city manager would be administrating and making sure that all of that is done. And then the mayor each year shall report to the council on the condition of municipal affairs. The mayor is a part of the council. So I don't know that this would, like, it would make sense either to do to the council. Now, I would suggest that the mayor, along with the city manager, present like a, sort of like a state of the union address to the city about what's going on. But it would, to me, not make sense for the mayor to provide that report to the council. The mayor is a part of the council.
I think that because of the form of government changing, I mean, and I might be mistaken, that the report would then come from the city manager.
I mean, I could see where you're
I'm just saying, so that's what I'm saying. With that, I would prefer this little section right here, that we would get, counsel from the attorney.
Okay.
And also, to discussion with the entire council.
Okay, so then let's just park right here. So let's, dive into Article 4 in the next committee review meeting. I think we have enough. We got through a lot of material. Unless you disagree, if you want to go on to the next section.
No, because for me, just being transparent, it's a lot to questions here. And so if we're gonna in dealing with the portion of what the mayor's gonna be doing, we need to be fair in knowing, fair in it. And I'm not really sure, so I don't really want to go because if all these duties are gonna go over there, then that's fine. But I don't want to, either way, add more or take away, because I'm not sure. So I think that for me, there's a lot of questions.
Agreed. So I think we can stop here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And so is there anything else that we need to cover before we close out?
No, so with the questions that we have with 404, are you I guess we need to go ahead and research that before the next meeting, because that's what we'll be coming back to, starting with that article.
So I think first we need to answer the questions in Article 3.
Yeah, I'm saying, okay, so we're gonna do that. You're right.
Yeah. But then
basically we will not come back to 404 until we have. Well, the attorney should be there. She should be there the next time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what we need to do in addition to answering the questions in Article 3, what we need to do between now and the next charter review committee meeting is get those examples of what the mayor's voting rights are in other council manager forms of government.
Yeah.
To have
and the salary. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, have all that. Yeah.
Yeah, for the next meeting in March.
Okay.
Okay. All right, well, thank you so much for your time. And we are closing out the meeting. I think I'm just making sure there's nobody else in the meeting. This evening, but it's been recorded, so we will post that and share to everyone. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you all for remaining on mute, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their evening.
Okay.
Bye.
Good night.